If you could take us back to the early days of commercial aviation, what was it like, and how, because you've obviously flown quite a bit, I'm sure. I'm sure many listeners have done a fair amount of flying. How does flying compare then versus today?
It's not really, in a lot of ways, it's not comparable because then traveling was such a rarity, traveling by air, and I guess it depends on which then we're talking about. If we're talking about the 20s, 30s, and 40s when air travel itself was brand new, it was a little more dangerous. It was also certainly a lot less comfortable before jet planes, um, or before, in that very early era.
Mhm.
Some planes flew below the cloud line, and so there was a lot of turbulence, and there was a lot of it was very uncomfortable. But as the technology improved and as the flight routes expanded, and as the speed and ease of travel improved into the 40s, 50s, and then 60s, as the jet planes emerged, which that was 58. So you know first planes were flying in the weather, below the weather, and then they were flying above the weather, but via propellers, and then the jets emerged. And so, in the era of the jet plane, which was 58 onward, um, the US government set the pricing for American airline corporations by flight miles and destinations, not so the airlines couldn't make up whatever fare they wanted to in order to compete with each other. So this meant that what they competed with was the airline experience. So the perks really varied by airline. Some One airline rolled out a literal gold carpet across the tarmac, and kind of tried to make passengers feel like they were just as important as the celebrities that boarded their planes. Other airlines focused more on food. They all focused on the stewardesses. They all treated the stewardesses as if they were another perk, and whether that was via their uniforms. Their uniforms varied from the very professional to the really quite racy over the course of the 60s, um, or whether it was via the kind of women that they hired. Everyone agreed that a stewardess was an important aspect of the in-flight experience, and everyone also agreed that it should be that in-flight service should be women, performed by women. So that's what my book, really examines. A lot of how this job that really came from some pretty sexist spaces, wound up actually offering a lot of the women who performed it a whole lot of freedom.
That seems a far cry from today when the perk is you get a couple extra inches of knee room.
Yeah. Or those really yummy cookies.
Yes, right.